Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Moms. This is Dorothy Pilarski, welcoming all of you joining us today for an incredible session. As you're signing on, please do me a favor and say something in the chat, say, hello, this is Maria from Midland or Kathy from Cambodia. Just say hello to us because sometimes when you're staring at a screen, you're kind of like, okay, is there really anybody there? So we'd love hearing from you. Don't be afraid. We don't bite. Oh, there you go. Candice said hello. She's from this second. I love her. So we have two incredible guests today, a dynamic duo, Candice and Vinz. So who's saying hello to us? Mimo Pearl. Hi from Hawaii. Hello. Yay. I actually taught the How to Start a Catholic Moms Group workshop in Hawaii for the Diocese of Honolulu. Hello. So Mimo must be a friend of yours, right? I'm sure she is a friend of mine, yes. She is a friend of yours, but Mimo, we're here for you if you want to start a Catholic Moms Group. Becky, hi, how are you? Amber from St. Joseph, Minnesota. Amber's one of our Mothers Group leaders in Minnesota. Bernadette, hi Bernadette. Bernadette is from St. Benedict's. Susan Taras from Fort Erie. Wow, we've got someone here, Rowena from India, Michelle from Ohio. You guys are like making my day. This is like so much fun. I got to tell you a little secret. This morning, I was on a Zoom call with a mom from England who is going to become a member, is going to start a Catholic Moms Group in England. Yay! Anyway, you guys, I want to introduce you to these two incredibly, wonderfully dynamic and creative Catholics. We have with us as guests Candice and Vinz. And Candice is one of our Mothers Group leaders in Mississauga from St. Catherine of Siena. So if you're from St. Catherine of Siena, make sure you say hello to us in the chat. So Candice, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
For sure, and thank you, Dorothy. It's such a thrill for us to be on today. So I am, hello, Sybil from St. Catherine of Siena. So I'm a mother of 5. I've been married to my husband, Vinz, here for 22 years. Our oldest daughter is 21. Our youngest daughter is 10. And I left my career about 15 years ago to be a stay-at-home mom. And that's where a lot of this stuff came out of. It's just the desire to be at home with our kids and to still create finance on the other side. And today, as my kids have gotten older, we've learned different ways to create finance. And I'm presently a mortgage agent and was able to acquire that license during this time just to continue to be a financial contributor to our family. So
that's fantastic. Now, when I met Candice, I was just like blown away. I said, I didn't know that a mom of 5 kids just could look so amazing. You look great. She always has an incredible smile. Just beautiful jewelry too. Every time I know I'm going to meet with Candice, I'm like, okay, I got to see what jewelry she's wearing. Now, Vinz, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was made in the Philippines, born in Niagara Falls, Canada. My mom was obviously 7 months pregnant with me when we came. I basically received the majority of my sacraments at St. Christopher's Church in Clarkson. Had a time when I kind of went away from the church, and as I was seeking God, coming back to my faith, I was praying for spiritual guides, directors. I'm thinking, priest, brother, holy man, and the Holy Spirit always knows what's best for me. And that's I met Candice at World Youth Day, 1995 in the Philippines. And her knowledge of our faith enthralled me. And I loved her for that while she was discerning her vocation. And And then, when she felt like her vocation was to be a mom and to be a wife, then I thought, okay, this is another sign, Lord, and it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And probably all the abundance and everything that we've kind of been through, I'm going to say that it's mostly due to Candice's clear vision, her powerful faith. Whether I like it or not all the time, it's been a beautiful life, and I'm grateful to be here. A little nervous to be talking to all these powerful moms on this. Honored as well at the same time.
So it's wonderful, wonderful. It's just such an honor to have you both here. Now, some of you have joined us here on Midday Moms like 50 times. Some of you have joined us 5 times, and maybe some of you have signed on for the very first time for this incredibly thought-provoking talk of faith over finance. So I do want to take a minute just to tell you a little bit about our ministry. So again, my name is Dorothy Pilarski. And if you'd like to find out more information about our ministry, there we have this beautiful, beautiful website, 3 words, CatholicMomsGroup.com. Google it as soon as you get off, okay? CatholicMomsGroup.com. And we are on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood. And we do so primarily by helping parishes start Catholic moms groups. I know that in my own case, my faith took a dramatic turn when I began to meet other human beings that loved their faith so much and were articulate and confident. And for me, that first experience really was at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. I was dating a young man then, and he took me to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never met Catholics like this before. And that's when I heard, Kimberly Hahn speak, and the guy I was dating proposed to me at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. So, that's sort of like the short story. I do want to show you just a very, very, very short video about our ministry. Before I do, I want to say a quick hello to Claude. Claude is a regular. Thank you for joining us. She's from St. David's in Woodbridge. And then Anna, you're so proud of Candice. You should just see how proud I am of Candice. Woo! And Natalie, I have to actually thank Natalie Bruno publicly, because Natalie recommended our ministry in a Facebook group, and that's how the meeting came to be in London, England today. So thank you very much. And Rosanna Lista from Our Lady of Peace, and we've got a mother's group there too. So thank you all. So I'm going to just take a minute to show you the very short video, and then we'll just jump right in on the incredible interview. So some of you have seen our website. So we're on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood, and we help parishes start Catholic moms groups. We can help you start one of 3 groups. A mothers only group, so it's more like a bit of an oasis where moms get together and talk to one another over coffee, tea, and sometimes, I won't say the word wine, but sometimes it does happen. Or a mothers and tots group. And the mothers and tots groups are usually in the morning. The moms groups are usually in the afternoon. And we can also help you start a virtual group. During the pandemic, we have moved all of our ministry materials into digital format. So when you become a member of our ministry, you get access to the back end, and you also get a physical kit, which is a beautiful kit. So let me just share with you this short 3-minute video.
Mothers, by our very nature, we are nurturing, loving caregivers. We are social beings, made for friendship and community. We are also spiritual by nature, made by a loving God to know Him and love Him, and to pass this love of our Catholic faith on to our children. But right now, many mothers feel overextended, distracted, and exhausted. Though as Catholics, we have the community of our church, many mothers attending Mass could not name the moms sitting next to them in the pew they share. Community and support among Catholic mothers is desperately needed in this hectic and chaotic culture. Your parish needs you to bring these moms together.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Pilarski. I'm the founder of Catholic Moms Group. We at Catholic Moms Group are on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood. We exist to bring together like-minded, faith-filled mothers who crave community and are focused on spiritual growth, Catholic teaching, and fellowship. Can you imagine a thriving, engaged mothers group at your parish? A group of moms in love with their Catholic faith, ready to serve other mothers no matter what stage of motherhood they're at. Can you imagine what a difference that would make at your parish? Starting a mothers group, it's not rocket science, but working with a team who's done it before and who's done it dozens and dozens of times sure does help. The Catholic Moms Group membership site is an online community that offers training, resources, and dozens of tools for parishes to help them start a mothers group quickly and efficiently. We're here to provide you with a clear path to launching a Catholic Moms Group at your parish. All of our materials are 100% Catholic. We have clearly laid out meetup plans for both moms groups and toddler groups. We are obedient to the magisterium of the Catholic Church. We have created dozens of tools that are going to save you time and energy. And besides that, we love our Blessed Mother. We constantly turn to her for her intercession. You can make a huge impact in your parish, so join us. We are revolutionizing the way parishes start mothers groups by providing parishes with a Catholic Mothers Group starter kit and by nourishing and training a community of Catholic Mothers Group leaders across the world. It's time to start a mothers group at your parish. Join us today. Oh, there you are, Candice. So that's a little bit about us. And now we get to delve in for the real reason you're here, to learn more about putting faith above finance, which in this day and age is really difficult. My mind was racing trying to remember, oh my gosh, how did I meet Candice? And, how did this all begin? And many of you know Linda Halliburton. Linda Halliburton also runs a mothers group, and she also helps with the ministry. And she introduced me to Candice and said, this Candice, she's got to be a mothers group leader. And I was kind of after I met her, I thought, we're not waiting till the next training session. We are going to train this girl right now. And one thing that she said during that interview or during that time, I can't even but it was something to the effect of, that my husband and I made a number of kind of remarkable changes. And, some of those changes have been to actually leave our professions, with a concrete plan in place in order that we could really, really, really put our family first. And then I was like, it just blew me away. I was so edified that I thought, okay, I've met these women that have done this, but I've never met these men that have done this. And so, Candice, Vinz, tell us a little bit more about what that means, what that looked like, what your professions were in the past, because everyone's just sitting here on the edge of their seats.
Okay, so, I'm a social worker, and I used to work for the Catholic Children's Aid Society, and I loved my job. I loved working with the families, But what I realized when I started to have my family was I was not spending a lot of time with them. Now, my mom, she also provided daycare for me. So it wasn't like my kids were with strangers, if you will. But it was a system that I looked at that said, is this really the fullness of life for myself and for my family? This is what we really want, because it was getting up early, taking them to my parents' house, going to work until 5 p.m, picking them up, it was a bit of a hustle. And I remember saying to Vince, like, is this really what we signed up for in terms of our life, in terms of our marriage, in terms of our family life? And I don't know if we had answers at that moment. Like we were just, I don't know if I had an answer, but I just remember thinking like, this can't be it. This can't be what I was designed for. And I remember saying to him after our third baby was born, I remember saying, I don't really want to go back to work.
I think it was more like, I'm not going back to work after, parental maternity leave.
Well, I just remember thinking like,
And that's when my heart skipped a beat.
well, I just remember thinking like, my mom stayed home with me, and how can we do this? And again, like the hows in that moment, I wasn't that concerned about. And I'm going to say like, I'm the full-on faith here, and he's the full-on mechanism. In that moment, he was the full-on mechanism and I was the full-on faith. And we kind of started to grow closer to that place, that middle of how do we do this? So that was really what started it, was me just saying, you know what, we knew we wanted a big family, and I knew I wanted to stay at home. And that's really how it started. And then when
And I love that, sorry.
I want to pipe in here because I always say like we suffer of the empty suburb, right? Like people are driving around from one place to another place. You spend all this time, saving up for a house, and then you have to leave the house and it's empty. And a lot of women experienced what you experienced at that time, but a lot of women don't have either the guts to bring it up and just like utter those words, and they don't have the grit and conviction, and then I guess maybe the plan, right? So just kudos to you. My hat's off to you for having the courage to speak those things, because I think sometimes women have it in their hearts, or sometimes they have it in their subconscious, but they don't let it come to their conscious. Instead, they get an ulcer. Instead, they go to therapy or wine or something, right? So I want to congratulate you for, owning it, claiming it, voicing it. And then Vince, how did you react? You've got a professional social worker who's making lots of money, and now she's saying, I don't really want to go back to work.
It's the whole 9 yards. And, I think because Candice owned it so much, she wasn't saying, I'm not going back to work, so deal with it, or trying to be arrogant. She was just claiming, being the mom and really doing what's best for our family. And because, our relationship was so rooted in service of the domestic church, which is our own family, my answer was like, okay, let's figure this out. Because the only way we knew how to make money was exchanging our time for it when we went to work. And if we weren't at work, we weren't making money. So that's probably the first time when I said yes to Candice. I was really saying yes to Christ, the Holy Spirit, lead us here, because I have no idea what we're doing.
If I could just jump in, this is also what I've come to see as Vince's gift, because I like to say, like, he's a master creator. Like, he has provided, and he has got creative, and he has, from that moment, he just got on it. And I believe that's part of his personality, is to create. Like, he's the guy who's, creating a plane on the way down, jumping off the cliff. Like, that's just in a way how Vince operates in the world. And so I never got to see necessarily how like stressed that was, or how like, do you know what you're asking us for? Like, do you know what's happening in our family right now? So I never really got to see a lot of that, but always felt like it was a compliment, like I do my part and you do your part, and we're going to do this together. So it was always kind of like that.
Yeah, and I mean, Candice was so good at, taking care of the kids and doing that stuff that it was almost like when I got stressed, it was like, okay, God help me here. Like, what do I do? Like that's part of the whole faith of just having that. I don't know how this is look. I don't know where the next dollar is going to come from, because we had some, when I left my good corporate job, if Candice actually had a kind of line of sight to what that really meant financially, she probably would have said,
I need a little bit of help here understanding. Sometimes I'm a little slow. So Candice, you left your job as a professional social worker, and now Vince, you're saying that you left your job too?
Yeah. So, when she left her job, we started a home-based business to, try to replace some of her income. We are now expecting our fourth baby, which is Zachary. He's now 13. So I remember very clearly how long I've not worked in the corporate world. And we were not at a point where we had Candice's income fully replaced yet. And then I come home and said, hey, honey, what do you think of the idea about me taking parental leave 9 months, work on the business full time and not going back? And she's like, okay. And I'm thinking, really? Like, she has no idea what that means, but that's okay. This is part of the faith journey as well, trusting God.
Well, and we did say, let's like evaluate our life. How could we live simply to be able to create what we're looking for? And that looked like, do we really need 2 cars? Do we really need that big of a budget for clothes? Do we really need this kind of entertainment? And I think it was that point where it was really examining what was important and choosing to live simply. I think that was also a piece.
Yeah, 100%. And, in my mind, I was thinking, well, we live in, Mississauga. There's always going to be, our kids are not going to go hungry because there's always a soup kitchen or, food bank. There's shelters out there. There's family that would probably take us in if we found ourselves to be homeless, which our mother-in-law, did at one point, which was wonderful. And really, I mean, I kind of thought about the worst case scenario, and we're not going to die going after our best life.
Yeah.
And we made sacrifices. We did things.
Yeah.
There's this line about entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life that way that most people won't, so they can live the rest of your life the way most people can't. And our vision was that big. Our faith was that high in, our career, because we always thought, well, if God's going to give any wealth to anybody, who's he going to choose? His faithful ones, right? Like, why not us? So that we can serve more and better. So, I mean, these were the kind of conversations we're having sometimes with each other. Sometimes we were just having these conversations in our own head, and we went through the struggle.
And and sometimes it wasn't pretty. There were times when it was not a pretty thing, because anybody out there married and is going to do the State of the Nation's budget, those aren't fun times. So we definitely had some of those times too. So it wasn't always like, hey, honey.
And it still always isn't, but it's a beautiful thing because we get to work on ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm usually the biggest problem in our relationship.
Oh.
So, and that's what I always tell. I always tell people that are doing this. It's like the first thing you need to work on is your mindset, educating yourself, and always trying to be the best person that you can be. Because in any of our relationships or anything we're doing, we're the biggest problem because we're the ones doing it. It's not the world.
Okay, so so both of you are working full-time. Candice has got, a professional job as a social worker. You have a professional management position in finance and marketing, and you guys decide we want to drop out of the rat race. We have no idea how we're going to drop out of the rat race, but Candice's maternal instinct was so strong. And the thing that I find incredibly, even now more beautiful about this story, because I've always remembered my conversation with Candice, and now I'm going to remember my conversation with the two of you, is that it was, Candice's mother's heart that put it out there. And then, you like, St. Joseph in the workshop thinking, okay, how are we going to do this? So, just congratulations for having that kind of relationship, because to me, that's, true love. To me, that's true, to be able to take a look at a situation and then in faith together, take this huge risk. Now, I can't help but think that there are some people that are, saying, okay, well, like, what are the nuts and bolts of this? Like, maybe we've got Sarah, the social worker, listening today, or, Bill or Bob, the mechanic, but I guess Bob wouldn't be listening because he's not a mother unless he's listening with his wife. But anyway, I'm sure that there are people that are listening today and they're thinking, okay, well, what are you telling me? You're telling me that I should just make a decision to get out of the rat race, and then what? So then, Candice, you say that you got to take a look at what your current expenses are and begin to ask yourself, what do I really need? What can I let go of? But you mentioned a home-based business. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the ways that we chose after leaving our career was to really create our own path around doing our home-based business, choosing into multiple streams of income. It doesn't have to look like a 9-to-5, one job every day. It can be a whole bunch of different things. And that's what we chose into. And one of them was a home-based business. The benefits being creating residual income. So doing something once and getting paid over and over again. And also the income, what was it? The income tax implications. Also, there was a benefit to that too. So, and again, we were such babies in that phase that we were open to many mechanisms, and that was just our first one.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that, what would have really helped us is to have like a financial literacy mentor, someone to kind of coach us and teach us, because the first thing that we had to do is, how do we do this? Like, how do we run business? How do we, create something from nothing, if you will, right? So, we read a lot of books. We listened to a lot of people that were doing different things. I guess the millennials call it right now side hustles, right?
Yeah, well, I was going to call this session how to have a side hustle. Yeah, so let's pretend I'm Susie and I want a side hustle and I want to go home and tell my husband that I met this incredible couple and I want to do what they did. Like, can you give me some concrete direction and some steps, and what do I do? I'm Susie, I want a side hustle. What do I do?
A side hustle could look as simple as this. My daughter, who's 21, loves going thrifting, and she's always looking for name brand sort of things that are high in demand, but they're selling for not too much in the store, and then going now posting on Facebook Marketplace or all these other hosts of selling sites that are usually free, and then selling it for a higher price. So for example, there was, I think it was like a sweater. Yeah. She got for $1.99. And apparently this is like a high-end sweater. She bought it for $1.99 and sold it for $100 on Facebook Marketplace because she knew what she was looking for.
Oh, wow.
That's just an example. Now, that may be an extreme example. Maybe it's going to be you buy something for $20 and you sell it for 40, right? So,
and I'm just was going to say another side hustle.
Okay. So again, that side hustle is really buying low, selling high. Simple for that, of things that things that people want out in the marketplace.
I was going to add to really do something you love. So a lot of times, and this is very common, moms are at home for some reason. They're, I don't know, it's not a choice, but they're at home and they start doing what they love. I know a mom who was beading. She started beading, and she started doing parties. So she would do like these birthday parties for her children, and then the word got out. So now she was hired out to do parties. Now she's actually with the school board, and I met her because when my daughter was making her first communion, they were making first communion bracelets. And this really came out of a bit of a side hustle for her, and she loved beading. So there's a possibility of really looking at what you love to do and doing it. I think that's always a great place to start, is what do you love and how do you get paid to do what you love? There's a site called Etsy where you can, knit, crochet, put your stuff on a website. Now that's one little stream. I'm not going to say that that's going to pay the bills per se.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, you'd have to knit a lot of scarves to pay your mortgage.
But it's a one way to generate some kind of income, and you never know where that could go. So that's one small way.
Yeah. No, that's one stream. Okay. Vince, do you have any other ideas?
Yeah. So the other thing that I think most people have already been exposed to is, some type of home-based business, Avon, Mary Kay, and there's tons of businesses that are popping up left, right, and center. I think the nice thing about doing some sort of home-based business is the support and the training and education is very high.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that people can look at. The other thing I like, doing with people, especially if they're older and they have, assets and resources and what have you, is looking at, taking what you currently have as far as equity and assets and whatever, and making that work for you, making your money work for you.
Now you got my attention, because I'm gonna do a bit of a shout out. I don't know, some people might be happy, some people might be mad, I don't know. But I sometimes struggle with network marketing, because whether it's Shackley or whether it's Creative Memories or sometimes the makeup, I find that sometimes the person that's trying to sell the stuff ends up being the best customer, right? Because, okay, I have to buy $600 worth of product in order to keep my status. So, and I'm speaking from a little bit of experience, because everybody used to always say, oh, you'd really be good in network marketing. Oh, you should get in that. You should have a team of 200 people. If you got into that, well, I got into it. Okay. And then I'm like, I got thousands of dollars of scrapbooking material, and I was ordering it every month. And yes, I love scrapbooking. But then I had to realize, wait a minute, they found, a bit of a sucker in me, pardon the language. And the thing that I struggled with, honest, is that everyone became suspicious of me, right? It's like, oh, she's approaching me because she wants to book a party. She's approaching me because she wants me to buy an album. And I hated people being so suspicious of me, right? So anyway, I can do an entire, I say this carefully, but I was a national training manager for Tupperware Canada. And so I understand that business, and I ended up speaking for Shackley. I ended up speaking for Creative Memories. And I caution, I just caution women out there to be very careful and to choose thoughtfully, strategically, but when you're talking about using your investments, leveraging what you have, you're talking mortgage broker, now you got my attention, right? You got my attention. So tell us a little bit more about, some of those ideas.
Well, quite simply, the first place that I usually point people to is to really get educated on how money is really made. And so that's kind of like the caveat, because it's not for everybody. Just like network marketing is not for everybody, just like a side hustle, buying and selling is not for everybody. So really, to understand this, I always say to people, I say, listen, what's your biggest asset? And they always say, my house is the biggest asset. And I said, well, if you refer to Robert Kiyosaki, he'll say that an asset puts money in your pocket, and a liability takes money out of your pocket. So when you live in your house, does it put money in your pocket or it takes money out of your pocket? It takes money to your pocket, right? Because you got your taxes, you got the mortgage, you got heat, hydro, water, all that stuff. So I always say, well, what happens if you can make money like the banks make money? And it's like, oh, that's really good because the banks always make lots of money. So the simplicity of the idea there is utilizing your house, the equity in the house, because, you know, some of us, you know, that have owned a house for the last 10 years have seen our equity double just because the market has gone up. And so you basically take a home equity line of credit, you take that money and invest it at a higher percentage rate than what you're paying for that home equity line of credit. Of course, you don't want to go crazy and gamble in the stock market per se, because that's a little risky. That's why I love staying within the real estate market and investing into real estate through second mortgages that are private. And you can do this mitigating risk almost very low if you know what you're doing. And
if you know what you're doing, yeah. And it sounds like you know what you're doing, right?
I mean, you know, I've successfully taken my mother's, you know, RRSP portfolio. It's now her RIF, which, you know, she had to take 6, 7, 8% as she's getting older from it. And all the while, her portfolio was making 1% in like a money market mutual fund. So she was pulling out money left, right, and center. I'm like, Mom, what's going on here? So 3-4 years ago, I basically took her principal and I've actually grown that principal even at the same time where she's taking out 7, 8%, because I knew that if I can just make her 7, 8, 9% without creating too much risk, then it's going to maintain her principal balance and she can draw from that and forever, basically.
Wow, I want to make an appointment to talk to you. Yeah.
Well, I was doing this without a license. She actually got licensed, so she could be the one to be able to speak about it, you know, from a professional standpoint with the license in hand. So
Yeah, so it's interesting because, you know, a lot of, well, first of all, if someone wanted to sit down and have like a, you know, deep dive conversation with you, like something that obviously we can't do here, are you available for like personal consultations with couples or people, or like what, like, do you work with people to help them do stuff like this or to help them discern? Like what's your shtick, I guess is the, I don't know if it's a shtick.
oh, we do. Are we actively looking to bring on a whole bunch of more clients? Yes and no. I mean, now that the golf season is kind of winding down, I'll definitely have more time in the wintertime to work with people. And I really have this desire that everyone should have the opportunity to live life the way that we do, without having to go to work and making money. And there's so many different ways that can be done. The more you get educated, the more exciting and the more possible it can be, especially if someone's holding your hand. So we helped a young couple, they're like in the early 30s, going to the third baby, very much doing ministry for the Diocese of Toronto, but really chose that they want to be both stay-at-home parents. They kind of heard our story and they said, can you help us? And we said, we'd love to help you, because we don't want anything more for your kids than having you guys be there to raise them. And probably in about a year's time, we got them set up, you know, making now residual income through a real estate investment, that they're off in their RV, driving around and being with their kids and homeschooling them and doing all that beautiful stuff. So, I mean, to answer your question, we would love to work with people who want to be worked with. And we don't want to try to sell them anything or try to convince them of anything. They come with this desire and they have this clear desire to really live life a different way than what they've always been living it, which is going to work and exchanging time for money, to now a possibility of being able to receive this income without having to exchange your time and money for it, so you can serve more in your ministry, whatever that ministry is. For Candice and I, we do marriage preparation, we do baptism preparation. Candice does, you know, the Catholic Moms group. And for me, I love serving in the pro-life organizations that help young moms and dads in support of them to take care of the lives that they chose to keep, as opposed to, you know, having an abortion. So I love being of service that way as well.
So I got to shake my head here. So what you're saying is that you can work with couples and you can educate, train, coach them on their personal circumstance and help them possibly out of professional jobs so that their time will be free to like more mothers group leaders. I love this idea. Because like so many times people say, oh, I can't be a mothers group leader because I'm so busy. I'm like, come on, Candice, she's got 5 kids and she's doing it. You know, Christina has 8 kids and she's doing it, right? So anyway, I don't mean to make a pitch for a mothers group leader, but I will anyway. So if any of you want to become a mothers group leader, please, whatever. But you know, I think that your service is really, really needed right now, especially now. It just seems that there's going to be a huge shift in the labor market, you know, with the pandemic and, you know, a lot of restaurants have closed, a lot of flights, you know, like there just seems to be a tremendous amount of chaos. And I think we do have to be creative in terms of, you know, how we make our income for sure. The one thing that, you know, I do not have your experience, but the one I do have some experience in that very often I see professional women caught up in professions. And I often say, have you ever thought about approaching your employer and asking them if you could do the same work but on contract? So then that gives you the freedom from not having to go into the office, and then you can then take on, you know, 2 or 3 other, you know, contracts and start building your income, you know, based on your profession. So, you know, Candice could have, let's say, you know, done independent work as a social worker. And then I know in my own case, when I was traveling internationally, delivering seminars, and when I had that first child, I was like, oh my gosh, I do not want to jump on an airplane. And, you know, I've been blessed. I've delivered seminars in Hawaii, but I'm like, I don't want to jump on a plane and go to Hawaii when I have a newborn and a husband at home. I just didn't want to do that anymore. And so one of my things was like, okay, you need to get a website up there so that your professional skills are out there. And then let's make the website really good and see what it attracts. And so, you know, I think that if anyone has a professional skill set, everybody needs a website, because you never know what, you know, who and what it might draw to your person. Now, how did you make this? Like, a lot of people talk about faith above finance, but it's just lip service. It's just like blah, 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 blah. A lot of people talk about family first, children first, and then, you know, you look at their lives and their faith isn't first, and their children aren't first, and their husbands aren't first. Like, you know, like oftentimes we're like, you know, where's the next dollar coming from? And to make that radical, you know, I'm going to put God first, literally, like, how did you get the courage and conviction, like, to do that, right? Because like people say, yeah, I'll put faith first after I pay my mortgage, right? I'll put faith, you know, I'll have my 4th child after I make, you know, $150,000. And so they never do. And then they never have that child. And like, some people just don't allow God to be God, is my kind of thinking. But how did you do that? Like,
How did you do that, Candice?
You know, I always think to myself that I have a missionary heart, and I know how to live simply, and I know what the bottom line is. And for me, the bottom line was clear, that I knew we could live simply, and I knew what quality time was with my kids. And that was my focus. And we would create that. And it didn't have to look like a trip to Cuba every year. It could be, you know, a staycation. It could be to the cottage. I remember times when we would just get on our bikes and pick up the kids from school and have a picnic. And I knew that I wanted to create, that we wanted to create moments like that, that they would remember. And what was first was creating experiences for them all the time. And if that meant, you know, every Saturday night meant pizza and wings at grandma's house, that's what we did. If it meant, you know, that we would have family prayer together every night, that's what we did. And prayer is a huge part of that, is part of the discernment of how are we going to do this. And then as time went on, I know that I matured in my faith to stop asking the how and just to put it out there. And I'm marveled every time, every moment at the miracles that have happened in our life because of prayer, because of novenas, because of the Blessed Sacrament. And that has to be first, because at the end of the day, the finances, to be blunt, the finance is second. Because if I'm not okay with God, and if I'm not okay with Vince, and I'm not okay with my family, then what exists? What is there anyway? And it's really, the finance really does come second. And my favorite line of all, my favorite scripture passage, if anyone who knows me, and if my mom is listening, she could probably put it in the chat because she knows. And this was my Life Changed World Youth Day in Denver. And it was, I came that you might have life and have it in abundance. And that's how I live. I believe that 100%. I believe in abundance all the way around. That is really how we live our life. John 10:10. I came that you might have life and have an abundance. And how can I, as a mother and as a woman, live out my vocation for my family with that premise, that he came that I might have the fullness of life in a vocation and have abundance. And I have an abundant family, I have an abundant marriage, I have an abundant, finances, I have an abundant joy, I have an abundant friends, and you, Dorothy. I can look at many places where there's abundance, and I'll stop there.
Yeah, I'd love to hear maybe, and you had me in tears there. I had to be careful because I could just feel your love just exuding out of your person, and that's rare to feel someone's love like that through the screen, so thank you for thank you for being who you are. Vince, can you tell us a little bit more about your family prayer life, about your family faith? I'm kind of just curious from your perspective. I'm sure Candice helps you keep on track. Most moms do, right? I'm jumping the gun here. I don't know that. I just threw that out there. But I like, to me, that's one of the mother's roles, right? Too, is just like our Blessed Mother, nurtured Jesus. Like, it's a mother's job to nurture those in her presence. And so you, Candice, as the mother, like I believe that as women, we're called to become icons of our Blessed Mother. And, anyone that knows me knows I fall short about 24/7, but that's the struggle. That's the struggle. The struggle is to be a dispenser of joy. It's a dispenser of life, a dispenser of encouragement, a dispenser, like to be like a reservoir for the people we're around. So so tell me a little bit, Vince, about your family prayer life, and just how did you kind of put faith first? How did you do it?
Well, I mean, remember, Candice and I met at World Youth Day, brought together by Pope John Paul II, Saint Pope John Paul II, beautiful, beautiful man. We love him dearly. And, so our first conversation, our first real deep conversation was about chastity. And really,
whoa, you don't mess around.
I love that she knew her faith so well. I was a cradle Catholic, but didn't know a lot of this stuff because kind of went away from the church for a few years there. So I really look at Candice as, my spiritual guide, director, because she's so faithful to our God, to Christ, to the Holy Spirit, and corrects me, probably more often than not. And I just trust her, and I trust in the spirit. And, I'm just gonna suggest that, you marry a great woman that knows her faith, you're gonna have an amazing life, an amazing marriage. And people joke, oh, you got married, now you got the ball and chain. Like, that's not it at all.
What about your prayer?
Oh, you wanted to get my,
I don't want you to get it, but that's what serves you right now. That's something.
well, there's two that serve me. Why don't I get them, share them? No?
Can you just speak to them?
Well, it's my,
Just do it.
I don't want to away because it's so beautifully said the way it's said. So give me 1 second.
While Vince is getting what he's getting, do you have any kind of words of encouragement for maybe moms that are out there that are looking for either a side hustle or to make the break, or like some other concrete ideas? Just Candice?
Yeah, well, what I would say first is to really pray about this decision. And if it's on your heart, then, I'd love to be able to have a conversation. So I think we get to, I think every situation is different, and it's possible. And I guess concrete things would be prayer, being gratitude every day, and really search yourself about what brings you joy and what you want to do, and surround yourself with people that can support you. And and on that note, we're available. So
Yeah, so Catherine, Lord help me. Candice is the mothers group leader at St. Catherine of Siena Parish. And so you could definitely attend one of her Catholic Moms Group meetups. Do you guys too, do you want to maybe put your contact information in the chat? So if somebody does want to reach you, that they have a way to reach you?
I'll put your email, and I'll put Vince's also.
Yeah, and while Candice is doing that, I have two prayers that I really lean on. The first is, Lord Jesus, you have perfectly fulfilled the will of the Father in all things, and you have chosen me and appointed me to share in your divine mission. Help me to open my mind and will to all that you call me to do, so that I too may be an instrument of the kingdom of your Father in heaven. And then from a financial standpoint.
Okay, can you read that again? Because I was a little bit distracted with Candice typing. Sorry, it was just sounded so beautiful, and I want to give it its real, so pray it again, sorry.
Okay, so it's Lord Jesus, you have perfectly fulfilled the will of your Father in all things, and you have chosen me and appointed me to share in your divine mission. Help me to open my mind and will to all that you call me to do, so that I too may be an instrument of the kingdom of your Father in heaven. So that's my kind of general ministry of giving and being of service. When it comes, and this is my second prayer, is in regards to the necessity of life, because we have bills, we have to take care, we have to eat. And Mother Teresa always said, the best thing you can do for poor people is don't be one of them. So this one starts, my providential Lord, you know my every need and are concerned for every aspect of my life. Help me to trust you so completely that I always put my love of you as my first priority in life. I do believe that if I can keep you and your will as the most important part of my life, all other necessities in life will fall into place. Jesus, I trust in you. So
beautiful, beautiful prayer. Do you think maybe that you guys can either scan it and send it to me, and then I can, in one of my emails, send it out to everyone?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just retype it again, just so that someone can copy and paste and do with it with whatever they want with it. But those are the two that really struck me. When it comes to someone wanting to go down this route, here's our God is an abundant God, and we need to trust. And it's like, yeah, you can pray, but you also have to be in action as well, because God helps those who help themselves. And so we really see there's some key things about how money is made. And, you just have to look at wealthy people who have the same 24 hours a day that we do, how they're making their money, because they're not exchanging time for money. they're making their money doing something once and making money month after month, year after year for doing something once. And I mean, that's what they say in network marketing, but it's really a true thing when what you're dealing with is something that people need. Like, for example, one of the streams that we have is when people pay their internet every month, we're getting paid on that internet service. We only sold it once, but every month it's being sold, we're getting a piece of that. Cell phones, the same thing. We also have a stream from nutritional supplements that people are taking on a monthly basis. People have to pay their second mortgage every month, so that interest is coming in on a monthly basis. Here's a key understanding of this. Don't sell it. Don't quit your job and then try to start making money thinking that you're going to be able to replace your income overnight. It's going to take work. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Okay. But will it be worth it? Absolutely. The problem here sometimes is people think, oh, it's not possible for me, so they just don't even try. And that's the worst part, especially if they feel called to a life like this of being in service 100%, because you think God's going to want you to be financially set so that you can serve him 100%? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? When I'm on the golf course, I'm always saying, I hit a nice shot. Thank you, Jesus. Because I know the people that I'm golfing with maybe don't have that relationship. And me just saying that, thanking Jesus for a straight golf shot is one of the ways that I evangelize as well, without making it heavy for anybody or, judging them or what have you. Right. So there's a lot more that I love discussing with people, but it's really, when I'm listening to somebody and what they want, I really customize what I'm telling people based on what they want, not what we want, because maybe they don't want a life like ours, or maybe they do, or maybe somewhere in between. So having that conversation, I tell people, listen, I don't have any fancy degrees or fancy, designations or whatever. I know this is possible for everybody because it was possible for us, and we did it and we saw it. And again, it wasn't easy. There was struggle, but oh my gosh, thank goodness we have, because the biggest thing that I got from this, and I think Candice as well, is we've grown into people that were unlike the people we were when we first started on this journey. And it helped me to be more humble, because when I left my corporate job, as a people, you're leaving your good corporate job, flying around Canada and having an expense account and doing all these great things to do what? Huh? Are you crazy? Part of my worth was in my good job. Part of Canada's worth was in her good job. And people, there's a lot of people out there that could never do this because their value is tied up in their job.
Well,
and that's one of the hardest things to let go of, and really just be humble and vulnerable and kind of generous.
And I think the other thing that's been a lot of the other value that we created from this was just one of the best relationships with our kids. We love spending time together, and we have teenagers. We've gone through some teenage bumps, and
big bumps at times.
And we love being together, and we have a relationship with our kids, and that to me is another thing that's just unmatched. And from my life, like I would not give that up, just to be able to have the relationship we do with all our kids, and to see the siblings growing together, all 5 of them, is I couldn't ask for anything more.
And I'll second that, because I think that sometimes when you I made the decision too at some point to let go of the corporate international training, and for a number of years too I was delivering seminars at the Schulich Executive Education Center. Getting paid extremely well for teaching, customer service to executives. But I always felt like there was competition in the marriage, right? Because it was like either my husband's business trip or my business trip. And I'd get like really stressed because, okay, you're going to be getting paid this, big amount of money for this big speaking, it's like I can't cook, and I'm screening, and I'm bagging pots, and, and I don't know what's going to do with the kids. You take care of, and it was like a lot of drama and a lot of tension and a tremendous amount of stress. And when I finally kind of said, well, I'll just let him do it, there was, and again, I had a profound Marian experience when I had my first child. And it sounds like you had a Marian experience too, right? And like at the time when you're making some of these decisions and you're thinking, okay, I could have had this and I could have done that. But then all these strands of moments that you have with your children build this bond that it's like, I always say, it's kind of like when you're weaving, that it just creates this incredible bond. And I can see now where, the time where we used to have pizza after school at 2:00, that they still talk about it now. And had I not been there for that, we wouldn't have, the relationship we have now. And like, I have also felt that if you have a strong relationship with your child's heart, then that helps navigate turmoil, because they love you so much and you love them so much that neither of you wants to hurt the other by bad choices, But if you're never together, you can't have those same bonds. So anyway, I just wanted to congratulate you as a couple that you were able to do this together. That's amazing. And that if people want to reach you, and now I know, Vince, you deliver some type of a financial literacy workshop. Is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're one of the lead couples for marriage preparation at our church at St. Catherine of Siena. And so one of the sessions, I guess a full 2 hours, is based strictly on financial literacy for couples. I kind of go through some, statistics and what have you, that finance is the #1 cause of divorce in Canada, actually probably around the world. So I kind of go through some key steps of, things that people want to focus on, and I love encouraging, these young couples that, don't have kids yet, saying this is the time to, make that decision that one of you are going to be staying home with the kids, if not both. Start preparing for that now. So that you have, now whether if you want or not, up to you, but at least you now have the opportunity if you're preparing for it right now.
Now, so if someone wanted access to that workshop, and they're already married, so they're not going to go through your marital, like, is there a way for them to get access to that workshop, or what are your...
I've never really done it outside of marriage preparation, but I have done it for individuals, kind of just give them kind of an overview picture of how we're going to work together.
Okay.
Because it comes down to, like, not only me, providing this information, but, education, because I don't want to work with someone who just wants to listen to me. It's like I would like working together with people so that they get educated, and then, really understanding, a baseline of what financial literacy is, so that we can have intelligent, great conversations that's helping guide that person to what's best for them. So
Okay.
Partnership.
So you could provide that, like, sort of in one-to-one coaching when...
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, that's fantastic.
And that's free of charge. I don't ever charge really for a lot of my services.
You don't charge for a lot of your services?
No, because really, if I can make money, then I get paid on the backside, not you pay me, then hopefully you make money, maybe you don't make money. I'd rather, it's like, pay me on performance, not on just what's coming out of my mouth.
It almost sounds like too good to be true, because some people are probably sitting there thinking, I can't contact Vince. He's too expensive. I can't contact Candice. So these people are willing to give you a free consultation. Now, I've never had one myself, but I love this couple, and I love what they represent, and I love how they serve the church, and I love how they pray. And so I just really felt inspired to share them with you because you don't meet people like this very often. Do any of you here that have joined us today that are maybe sitting in the sidelines, do you have any questions that you would like to ask Candice and Vince? I know that I've been inspired. I just want to make sure sometimes I don't give folks enough time to okay, so oh my gosh, it's 3:06. Do you believe it? Where did
Just like that.
yeah, it went fast. So you had a couple of slides you were going to share, I think, Vince. And
Yeah, well, you know what? It's not actually a slide. It's just a general website that I wanted to show the power of allowing your money to make you more money. Because if you're going to work hard for your money, it makes sense that your money should be working harder for you. But the first thing you need to do is spend less than you make. That's budgeting 101, advanced budgeting. Spend less than you make. If you spend more than you make, then you're like 95% of everybody out there. So that's the first thing that you want to do. Live simply. Now, let me share the screen with you because we're teaching our kids about finances and creating residual income. And I love this. Okay, let me just, can you guys see that? Hang on a sec here. Let me make this large. Okay. So can you see this? This is a website called bankrate.com. It's basically calculating your earnings and more. Okay. So in this example, this is what I did for Michaela when she was 18. And I said, Michaela, how would you like it to be able to retire when you're 48 and make $100,000 tax-free? So at 18 years old, the target millionaire target age, you don't have to make $1 million as long as whatever's coming in covers your expenses. She said 48. Okay. So if you just took this simple formula, putting $500 into a tax-free savings account every single month. So you could be making $20, $30, $50, $100,000 a year. As long as you're putting $500 every month away with an expected rate of return of 10%, then by the age of 48, you'll have $1,039,646. Now, inflation.
Where are you going to get 10%?
Well, that's something that we can talk about, but usually when I'm investing into second mortgages, that's the minimal that I'll usually get.
Okay, yeah, no, because I was like, you go to the Bank of Nova Scotia, you are not going to get 10%.
Yeah, you're going to get a 1/4%. Okay, so again, you got to be smart with your money, right? Now, here's a beautiful thing about this. At the age of 48, Mikhail's going to have $1 million in a tax-free savings account, making 10%. She'll be able to withdraw $100,000 tax-free every year for the rest of her life.
Whoa.
How would you like that? If someone made you do this, like I'm kind of making my kids do this, by the time they're younger than me now, I'm turning 52 this year, that you would be able to withdraw $100,000 tax-free every year. Now you have the choice to do whatever you want to do. And you're not even really sacrificing because it's only $500.
Yeah, the big thing becomes that 10%, right? Like that's the, but like tell me.
And some of my investments I've made 15, 20, but I'm using that as a baseline. And this is going to add out, right? Because the more money you have, the more money you can get a return on investment if you become a savvy investor. And that's part of what I kind of direct people to know as well.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's definitely, I'm sure you got lots of people attention there. Now, are there any, possibly, because we want to kind of wrap up only because, it's almost 10 after 3, if not 10 after 3. Are there any kind of books that you could recommend for folks, or is there anything that you would?
Yes. So the first book, kind of an intro, but they do a pretty good job. This book has sold 32 million copies, so it's very well read. It's the #1 personal finance book in the world, and they don't teach it in schools. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Okay, so I'm not sure if, but I guess too, I think I may have read the book, but then you have trouble implementing it. So then someone like you could really help, right? Like you
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, a book like this, it's not a one and done. It's like a book that you study and read and go back, and really a book that you travel with as you're going through this process. It's really helped us tremendously. And then, you go on to other more advanced books in certain areas that you want to learn as well.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, it is 10 after 3.
Dorothy, can I jump in? There's a question here from Camille.
Oh, sure.
Um, And the question is just around what prayers did you pray for your husband to help him get on board with less being more and giving up things? I don't know that I had one at the time, but what I will recommend is the Sacred Heart Novena. I'd love to talk to you more about it, Camille, if you'd like to do that. But the Sacred Heart Novena has been a miracle prayer for me in every area of my life.
I think that was Padre Pio's favorite, wasn't it? The Sacred Heart Novena. I think. I'm not a Padre Pio expert.
Sure.
But
Fine.
I've seen the miracles.
Yeah.
I've seen the miracles.
So that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, so Novena to the Sacred Heart. And Camille, I know you took the workshop, How to Start a Mom's Group. I hope we get you on board. Anyway, I know that sometimes it's not always possible, but I'll be honest with you. One of the reasons I absolutely love this ministry is because I meet people like Candice, and Vinz, it's funny. I have fantastic memory. We have a common friend, Catherine Bone, and we're at a wedding, and I couldn't stop dancing because Vinz was just. And the other thing too, any of you that have known me longer than 10 minutes know that I'm probably making about 20 mistakes a month, and I just want to thank, Candice very publicly for her forgiving heart, because sometimes I make a mistake and they're whoppers, right? So, in the corporate world, you might have to pull out 72, knives out of your back because of a mistake that you made. But, Candice graced me with her forgiveness and her gentleness and her kindness and her patience. And it's just, it's really humbling when you screw up as much as I did, but anyway, no. So, one of the reasons I love the ministry and I love, meeting Catholic women who take their faith seriously is that they put me on the right track, right? And so you become a mother's group leader, then all of a sudden you're meeting all these amazing human beings that want to help you, want to serve you, want to pray for you, want to bless your family, want to tell you powerful prayers, want to talk about miracles. Like it's just, it's been such a gift. Anyway, on the behalf of Catholic Moms Group, Candice, I wanted to thank you for being an outstanding Mothers Group leader. Candice hosts her meeting twice a month at St. Catherine of Siena. So you don't just have to look at this beautiful face, you can actually meet her in person. She hosts in-person groups. And I think, from time to time, Vince helps with the setup and makes some coffee, and her mom is there. And sometimes they have music, but it's always good. It's always good. So please keep checking our calendar at catholicmomsgroup.com and look for St. Catherine of Siena dates. I don't know if they're up there just yet. I did put the request in. And Susan, I hope that you start a Catholic Moms Group too. And Susan's been coming, I think, to the Dynamic Women of Faith conference probably at least for 10 years. It's just such a joy to see you, Susan. Anyway, I want to thank you, Vince. I want to thank you, Candice. You know how to reach Vince and Candice. Their emails are there if you want to meet them in person, St. Catherine of Siena Mothers Group. And I always like to end with one of my favorite songs. I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or pray a prayer. Seems we just get started, and before you know it, comes a time we have to say so long. Goodbye, everybody. Next week, make sure you tell everybody about Midday Moms. Next week, we're having the topic Halloween for Catholics with Susan Brinkman from Women of Grace. And so it's going to be a good one. So please join us next week and send an email to 5 women. How are we going to evangelize to more women unless you promote it? You know, people know that I promote way too much. So anyway, thank you for your time. We love you. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Candice. And I love y'all. Okay. Bye. Bye-bye. These parents of 5. Look at you. Gosh. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Yeah. You guys are awesome.
Hey, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.